Welcome back to TribPreps. I'm Eric Lee alongside Todd Sommerfeldt. Another Friday night playoff football this
Saturday
week.
morning.
Saturday morning. Yeah, technically, yeah, I guess it
1
is. It is Saturday morning. But playoff football, nonetheless. First round matchups. Run through the scores. We'll dive into the games that we're at. You guys know the drill. You were at West Salem for West Salem Prescott. That's a 17-14 victory for the Panthers,
Yes.
and one that sounded very interesting at the end.
Yeah, it was fun.
I was at Aquinas Spooner. Blue Golds pick up a 30-6 win, even though they trailed for the first time this season early on. In Division II, Central loses to River Falls 29-6. Riverhawks were in that game within 2 scores for much of the second half.
And they scored first.
Yeah.
So they had a lead, and were, I think, late in the third quarter, it was still 15-6, and then they gave up. Well, actually, in the fourth quarter, it was 15-6.
Right.
And they gave up 2 touchdowns in the last 8 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and River Falls pulled away now.
On Alaska, as a 7 seed, topping Mount Howard, Barneveld, 28-21. A team that we had said before, right? I mean, that you don't want them to be a low, you don't want to be a high seed and get them. Arcadia loses to Stanley Boyd after leading 12-7 at half. They fall 35-16. Westby loses to Stratford 34-6. Prairie du Chien falls to Richland Center 31-23. Division 6, Luther, another team with a halftime lead that vanishes. They fall to Lancaster 26-16. Mondovi loses to Melmin 40-7. Bangor over Ithaca 35-14. 3 passing touchdowns tonight for the Cardinals.
Yes.
Not something you'll hear us say very often.
No. You have to go back quite a ways to be able to say that.
Cashin shuts out DeSoto 46-0, and Blair Taylor loses to Eau Claire Regis 43-14. And those are all of our scores from this evening.
Start with West Salem or Aquinas?
Let's start with West Salem because I want to hear about the double pass and the finish.
It was exciting finish. It was a close game throughout, obviously, a 17-14 game. Nobody's taken too big of a lead. It was 7-7 at the half. West Salem was having some issues finishing drives.
Okay.
Weren't like moving the ball at will up and down the field and then doing something wrong. Just opportunities that they had. They had 4 takeaways in the game, and wanted to convert a little more on those. I think.
Sure.
Certainly. A couple of interceptions, couple of fumbles that they recovered, and not everything led to points. But they had a couple instances where they got inside the 30, inside the 20, and just couldn't finish. They had one instance where they had to. It was 7-7. They got the ball down inside, I think it was the 10-yard line, and on third down, the snap goes to Brett McConkey. CJ McConkey trips, and Brett falls right over him for no loss.
Oh,
actually,
man.
No gain.
Yeah.
But that's something they wanted. I mean, it was third and short at the time.
Right.
Instead, they line up, kick the field goal, which was a good choice. Noah LaFleur kicks the 31-yarder to break the tie. The first big play that he made of the night, and he had plenty of leg on that 31-yarder too.
Okay.
And then you have Prescott go down and took a 14-10 lead. Aiden Russell, a beast tonight for the Cardinals, 248 yards. He had a 71-yard touchdown run, which I think a lot of people thought the play was over, and it answered West Salem's first touchdown of the game. West Salem goes up 7-0. Prescott gets the ball back. They give it to Russell. He goes around the right side, and about 10 yards downfield, he runs into a teammate. And then there's like a kind of a bottleneck there, and then you see him burst out, and he was already on the sideline. I still don't know how he got out of it. And he's just taken away from the field. He went 71 yards.
Jeez.
For the touchdown to tie it up there. But he had a really nice run to give them a 14-10 lead in the game, where he had a nice spin move and then kind of made a dive, but did a flip in the air as he was getting hit and landed in the end zone. For a real dynamic run. But so that kind of set us up for West Salem's, not final possession, but second to last possession when they got the winning touchdown. They were facing, I think it was a first down. They were at about 27, I think. And as Justin Yanes said they were having trouble finishing the drives. They kind of needed some kind of spark, something new.
Yeah.
And Bob Gorniak, defensive coordinator, he walked right in front of me, just very calmly into his headset. He goes, "Have we thought about the double pass?" And next thing you know, Brett McConkey steps back, goes to his left to Noah LaFleur, who steps back, and Noah LaFleur, former quarterback
Right.
on the team,
Right.
takes a step back, heaves a pass downfield. Andy Johnson got behind the defense, touchdown. I asked Noah what he saw when he got the ball, and he said, "I just saw Andy Johnson's hair, and he had a 3-yard gap, and he just had to try to settle down and make a nice throw on it, and he did." So it was a nice double pass, a great play to break out, great timing to break it out. And then Luke Knoll, of all people, broken hand at the beginning of the season, missed a lot of games, came back last week to play defense, played defense again tonight, gets an interception to allow them to run the clock out. He just kind of happened to be in the way. It wasn't like he made a great play on the ball.
Sure.
Prescott dropped back, and they had Russell in at quarterback at that time. They did a lot of that. I mean, just putting him back in the shotgun, which is like a wildcat.
Yeah.
And instead of running, there was about a minute left, and they were about midfield. And instead of running, he kind of drifted to his right and threw a pass, and Noel was right there to pick it off, club hand and all. So I was happy for him just because of the time that he's missed this year.
Right.
But he and Noah LaFleur really made, and LaFleur with the field goal, he recovered a fumble. And then made that pass at the end. Zach Niemeyer had an interception. Chris Calico forced a fumble on a sack.
Okay.
So they had a number of guys make plays. So I know West Salem wanted to go out there and play better and maybe a little more consistently, but they did make a lot of big plays in this game to beat. I know Prescott ended up 5-5, but it was a team that gave Aquinas some challenge.
Yep.
Although Aquinas ended up pulling away, and Russell ran for 177 against Aquinas too.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of a monster out there.
Yeah.
And like I said, really was tonight. Really, really impressed with him and what he did. But West Salem pulls it out, and they do it by getting a big play at the end.
Yeah.
2 big plays, I guess, counting the Noel interception.
Yeah, and they've got a tough matchup next week. I mean,
Yes.
it's crazy to me that they are 7-1 and got a 4 seed. Like, I mean, I guess I get it,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, to get that draw where, I mean, in round 2 you're gonna get the top seed, and I mean, so we're talking they're taking on a 10-0 Maple Northwestern team next.
Scored
I mean,
40 points in the first half tonight.
right, and I mean, they're 8-1, and their only losses.
Well, it's all computer seeding this year.
Right.
Don't even really know what all goes into that. I'm not sure what the priorities are in that. I don't know if West Salem got hurt by playing one less game.
Right.
Maybe total wins factor in heavily, and they're behind everybody.
Sure.
That could have something to do with it. But when you look at the teams that they're in there with, you got to beat the number 1 at some point.
Sure.
If it's not
Sure.
you. And I think they can go play with them. I don't know much about Northwestern. I know they have had some good teams, and there are some good teams up that way in that conference. So I think and again, West Salem's getting healthier. They have Noel, but he's only playing defense right now. They have CJ McConkey, who missed a little time with a shoulder injury.
Right.
Only playing offense. Imagine if he gets out there and starts hitting people defensively again. I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not, but if they get him back there on both sides, that could make a difference too. But I think the goal was to go out there and win. As Yanes said, they're 1-0 again.
Yep.
And they haven't won a playoff game since 2017, so they've got to be happy about that. And now they'll just kind of take this week for what it is.
For sure.
Yeah.
Story of my game, I mean, obviously.
Aquinas was losing.
Aquinas was losing. And it happened like fairly quickly too, like in terms of how Aquinas games go, because I mean, so they get the first possession of the game, so you're going in like, right, I mean, it's Aquinas and it's Aquinas' offense, like why would they not score on their first possession? That's what they've shown us all year that they like to do, that they can do, right? Got a little cute with a trick play on their second play, and Thankfully, nothing bad came of it. Could have been a pick, frankly. But third snap, Flotmeyer's handoff to Moline. Moline. Wow, I got it right on the radio. I got it right on the radio this evening.
Yeah.
And
David Moline.
if I would have said his first name, I would have got it. I 100% would have got it. I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry. They don't get the handoff, and Spooner recovers, and they've only got 40 yards to go, and they get it. And so we're about midway through the first quarter, because I mean Spooner, it was very clear from that possession, right, that they were just going to try to eat a lot of this clock, and they were pretty efficient doing so. Right. And so it's 6-0 Spooner. Midway
was it chaos on the Aquinas sideline?
No, not really. Honestly, they were. I mean,
confidence in their offense.
Yeah, they were fairly calm. Hargrove said that he had a moment of panic just because, like, they hadn't, especially because they hadn't actually let up a first quarter touchdown. First quarter score actually this season.
Okay.
So he was like, yeah, that kind of took us back a little bit, but they responded and Aquinas scored on the next drive. Flotmeyer was crisp on that drive. They mixed in the run fairly nicely too, but then he hit Miskowski on the far sideline, and he made a guy miss, and then was able to get into the end zone.
Shocker.
Yeah, right. They get the 2-point from Moline, and they go up 8-6, and I mean they know what to do from there, right? I mean, so I mean that's the story. The biggest play that I thought of the game though came in the third quarter. Aquinas was up 16-6 at half. They blew an opportunity to score late in the first half. They had the ball inside. I think they were in the red zone. They were at least inside the 30.
Okay.
And Will Skemp fumbled after like a short little, like one of those pop passes, you know, that they, I guess it's not really a pop pass, where the jet passes.
The Jets were.
The jet passes.
Yeah, okay.
And so that kind of like killed their momentum. Spooner rode that into the second half because they got the second half kickoff and drove all the way to inside the Aquinas 30, and then Joe Penke happened. Wow, I am just on. I'm gonna blame it on it being past 1 o'clock.
That's right. This is still one of our earlier ones.
It really is. And then Joe Penke happened, and Joe Penke happened a lot tonight, a lot. But on second down, stops a Spooner running back for a loss, and then it was 3rd and 9, and to me, I'm still questioning why Spooner went with this play call, because they'd shown throughout the night that, you know, they wanted to run the ball, and to this point, they hadn't really shown too much of the pass, and teams like that, I mean, typically, I went to a high school where we didn't throw the ball, and on 3rd and 9, we didn't want to be throwing the ball. Even on 3rd and 9, like if we felt like we needed to, we did not want to be throwing the ball. And these offense
4th and 9, you'd rather it be 4th and 4 or 4th and 3.
Exactly. And like the offensive line, they don't practice, right? You don't practice pass blocking when you're a run first team like that. It's not just something you do frequently. So of all the things that they could have decided to call, they decided to call play action pass, which again gives you just more time to get to the quarterback, and nobody blocked a blitzing Joe Penke. And so it was a 10-yard loss.
And he's a jockey. He gets there fast.
Yes, exactly. He is a jockey.
They all are, Tomley.
Yes. So then it's 4th and 19, right? And they tried to run like a reverse pass, and it's incomplete. And then Aquinas goes the other end of the field, and they score on a Joe Penke touchdown run.
That's exactly what you want to do in that situation.
Right, exactly. Okay. So then it's 24-6, like late in the third quarter, and that was pretty much it. Flotmeyer only threw one pass in the second half.
Okay.
They ran the ball for I think 120 yards in the second half. They really only had 3 possessions. They had two possessions in the second half. I mean, and the third technically to like run out the clock.
So showing they can run the ball.
Yeah, absolutely, and they did it. And they did it with Hargrove. They did it with Moline, and they did it with Penke. They did it with all 3. Neither of them had more than 8 carries, and neither of them had more than 65 or 70 yards. So it was very, very evenly split.
Very Aquinas.
Yeah. And so they were really happy with that. Flotmeyer was still overall crisp, didn't turn the ball over outside of the handoff, whoever you want to place that fumble to.
Yeah.
Didn't throw a pick. He threw for 158 yards. He was 12-17.
Another high percentage.
Yep. But they were happy to have some adversity, and that's something we've talked about before. And we talked about it when they were going into the Prescott game, that they would hopefully get some there, right, if they wanted to make some sort of run. But to get it now in the playoffs, right, it feels a little bit different.
Yeah.
As opposed to like
and to now know that they can withstand it, they can handle it.
Right. Yeah. So it was a good way to respond, and I know they would have obviously not liked to have fumbled on their opening possession and on their last possession of the second half, because that really could have. I mean, it could have almost put the game away there with the way that the defense was playing by and large. I mean, Spooner was able to move the ball and sustain some drives, but then they would stall. They only averaged like 3.3 yards per carry. I went and added it up.
Okay.
And like I said, they had two really good backs, I thought. Not to the level that you saw tonight, certainly. But two really sound backs. And they were able to bottle them up. And what did they finish with? I'm going to pull it up here if I can find it quick enough.
Aquinas, by the way, gets Stanley Boyd next week in the second round game.
I don't know if I have their total, but yeah, I mean the 3.3 and that's Spooner ran the ball like 50 times. I think they were like 180. They were like 180 something for like on like 50 some carries.
Okay.
So I mean they were just trying to pound it, and I mean if you take away the 40 yards on the first possession, right? I mean you're down to 140 on like what? 40 carries, like minimum. So pretty sound effort defensively, and Calvin Hargrove was all over the place. Pearson Feehan was all over the place.
He has been all year too. Both of them have.
Yeah, and then Joe
Feehan's
Pinky.
been a big play, good big play.
Yeah, and then Joe Pinky. So it's a solid win, and like you said, they get Stanley Boyd next week, which came back to beat Arcadia. Stanley Boyd put up 21 points in the third quarter. Arcadia was up 12-7 at half, and then it was 28-12. Arcadia got back within 28-18 with a Caden like touchdown run, but then Stanley Boyd answered like a minute later.
And Arcadia's only two losses this year: Stanley Boyd and Aquinas.
Yep.
And Aquinas beat him pretty handily as well. So shows that this may be a pretty good game next week in second round.
Yeah. Other noteworthy on
Bangor Cashton coming up too.
Yeah.
I mean we should talk about Onalaska. They forced they had 3 interceptions.
3 picks. Yep.
In this one, and were able to use those interceptions to put the game away at the end.
Yep.
They scored the first 2 touchdowns and the last 2, so they did go ahead, give up that lead, and have to come back, and they did it, and scored a couple of touchdowns later to tie it up and go ahead, and finish it off with some picks. So that was a game that I really thought was a toss-up between the two. Mount Horror Barneveld plays some really good teams, but Onalaska in a lot of close games. This year.
Yeah.
Not a great record, but a lot of close games, and can always come up with some kind of game plan to compete.
Yep.
And you have to bank on that. So good win for the Hilltoppers tonight. Like you said, Bangor throwing the ball.
Yeah.
3 touchdown passes.
Yep.
For Mishik tonight. And Cashton blows out DeSoto, which is a team that usually can put together some kind of good defensive plan. Obviously,
Right.
they couldn't handle Cashton tonight. And now we get that rematch. Bangor beat Cashton last week.
Yep.
They go back to Cashton to play again this time, and probably a bunch of surly Eagles who couldn't get the job done the first time and probably felt like they're in position to.
Yep.
And rightly so. And now we'll see if Bangor can go do it a second time or if Cashton can rebound.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. And we'll have it sounds like I'll probably be at that one. So that would be that'll be my second straight year seeing Bangor cash in, because last year was in the regular season was a fun game. So I mean, their last couple games have been.
Yeah, that's right. We both went last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
And that was a big game for this group of casting kids. And they've really, done a good job building on that and what they accomplished that day. Even though they lost the game, they've really built on the experience.
Yeah. So only a handful of games next week, but should be some good ones. Worth following, obviously, and worth you guys coming back here again next week. So I think we're about
fewer games, but just as much to talk about.
Always. There's always plenty to talk about. There's so much to talk about. But that'll do it for us this week. You can find all of our stuff, as you can on the Tribune's website. That's lacrossetribune.com. Find stuff on our YouTube channel. You guys should subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching it on the Tribune's page, just go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. You can find all of our videos on our YouTube channel, but check out lacrossetribune.com. Always, that's where you can find all of our stuff.
Football and other.
Yeah.
We got some volleyball. We're going to have a lot more volleyball stuff and cross country and all that stuff coming up too, with the tournament season going there too as well. Boys soccer.
Yep.
On top of that.
Yeah. So check it out, and we hope to see you guys back here again next week. And as always, thanks for watching.
Thanks.